Mayor.
Yep, it's 3 o'clock. Welcome everyone to our special council meeting today of February 16th, 2021, and it's 3 p.m. So welcome to council, welcome to staff, and to anyone that may be tuned into us live through YouTube or through a recording later. So at this time, I'll call the meeting to order, and I will also ask for a moment of silent reflection so we may reflect on our duties of today. Thank you. Thank you. I'll remind council of their declaration of pecuniary interests. If there's any that should arise at this time or at time of the subject, please let us know. Seeing no hands, we'll carry on. So I'm looking for a motion for approval of the agenda for today then, please. Councillor Archer and Councillor Walsh. All in favor? And that's carried. So today's just, like I mentioned earlier, it's a special council meeting. We're going to be, I don't know, today's going to be some tough days of decisions. So anyways, council, so we'll get right into it. Moving on, then we'll do staff and committee reports. So R1, Candace White, our CAO clerk treasurer. And this is regarding a follow-up on the request to receive an exemption from section 321 of the comprehensive zoning bylaw number 2009-08 from the owners of 115 County Road 40 in / Armstrong. Candace, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So as a follow-up to our council meeting on February 9th, 2021, there was a request made of staff to do some further research and investigation into the requests made by the Armstrongs for the implementation of a temporary travel trailer or park model trailer, pardon me, that's going to be utilized while they rebuild their home due to fire. Staff did meet with the homeowners, and we a site plan was included with your package. Today, what you'll notice is what is being proposed is the current home is going to be demolished with the foundation, and then the new home is going to be pushed back almost where you can see the second blue rectangle there. What's basically there is, I think there's a swimming pool and some other things. It's also going to be taken out and removed, and the temporary park model trailer is going to be placed where the current home is. So it accomplishes a lot of things. One, it ensures that there is proper fire separation on the site from neighboring structures, and it allows for easy access to servicing. So they can dig in the water and sanitary as well as hydro servicing. So from a staffing perspective, a lot of the big items have been dealt with. There's a few things that still outstanding for consideration, and that could be kind of solved in an agreement. Would be the time frame for the exemption, council's direction regarding placement of the unit, and then servicing requirements. All of that would be put into the agreement. So basically it's for council, and if you have any questions or concerns, you can see the section of the zoning bylaw there, 3.21. It was included in the staff report, so you know what section. That's a big document, so we just kind of took that excerpt out and provided it to you so you can see what you're actually exempting. And then you can make a decision, and I'll take questions of council.
Thanks, Candace, for that. Councillor War, I seen your hand up and you're muted, please.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. I wanted to thank you for providing that site plan. It really does make it a lot easier to understand what we're proposing. I just wanted to know if there was any recommendations as to the time limit for the proposed trail on site.
Yes, staff did discuss it, and from our perspective, we would like to touch back in with them and maybe reconsider this before the next winter season. By no means do we actually think this house, considering we're in the pandemic and there is some supply and demand issues with materials and contractors, et cetera. But I just think we need to touch base with them before the next winter season. And then do a touch base as long as progress is being made, headed in the right direction. They're going to be able to accomplish something over the winter. But I think maybe November 1, November 30th, before winter sets in. December 31st is too tough around Christmas to have an agreement come due. So maybe November 30th, and we could come back to council then in that meeting in December.
Okay,
That would be our recommendation.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Deputy Mayor Burt, I seen your hand, please.
Yeah, thank you through you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you for this information. I think that kind of nails it down for council, a little bit more information that we've received. I would be in favor of granting them the request. Just seeing where the trailer is going to be located, having the setbacks, the ability to hook up the sewer and water fairly easily. It's not a long ways back. And yeah, I just had something about for, you know, the end of the year, but I can see December 1st would make a lot more sense. And realizing, I think as a council, we have to realize that we will likely be extending it because there could be some delays, or in a perfect world, there always is when you're building anyhow. But as long as they're, like our CAO said, as long as there's progress being made, I think it's a good way to go. And I know from a standpoint of when you are building, having somebody there on site often helps with the theft of building materials and tools and all of that. So that may be a help even as far as insurance goes. So I don't really have any questions. That's just my comments. And I would support granting them this temporary use of the mobile home.
Sounds good. Is there any other councillors wish to speak to this? Councillor Walsh, please.
If I can, through you, Mayor. Candace, so when it comes to the water, sewer, and hydro, maybe not as much hydro, but our staff would be involved in those inspections and reviews to make sure that we're comfortable, like they're just not doing it themselves, that we're involved and that it's.
Yeah, so to get a new water and sanitary service, they're gonna have to get a building permit. So they'll have to get a building permit to get the new water and sanitary put in. So that's going to trigger the inspection process. Then they would just be able to reroute that. We wouldn't then make them get another building permit when they extended it to the new house. Once it's ready to go, we would just allow that connection to continue.
Okay.
But yes, so the building permit for the actual services is different than the building permit for the home, which is different from the demolition permit. It is its own separate permit, and it'll trigger inspection.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Archer, please.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Just one thing, Candace, on for the water and sewer, would we, like, they'd be hooking on to the same line that they're putting in for their trailer? So do we have to make sure they can only keep the trailer hooked on up so long after the house is hooked up? I mean, there's going to be a transition period there where they're both going to be probably on the same line, but at some point, when they would get an occupancy permit, would they have to disconnect the trailer at that point? Do we need to be that stringent on it,
so that's,
do we leave it open?
no, it's not left open. So it'll actually be before occupancy, but it'll be one of the things listed in the occupancy permit checklist to ensure that the trailer is no longer serviced. I suspect when they're going to run the connections out of the house and have all those connections there out through the foundation, et cetera. And then once they're ready to get pretty close to moving in, they'll do the final connect. It'll come off the trailer. They won't be connected to both at the same time.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Wara, follow up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Through you, I was just wondering from the site plan, is that a shared driveway? And I was just wondering if there is any concern from staff that I can't really tell from the picture, but do we know if it's a shared drive or not?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think it is.
It's double, so it's wide there.
It's double wide, but I think, but shared would mean like they each have driveway on their own property.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering about construction trucks coming forward if it was a shared drive.
Yeah, they'll have to just be considerate to their neighbors. They'll have to figure that out.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, sounds like we're all heading in the right direction. And so just to help us out here with the motion then, Candace, please. That way we can catch everything that we may need to, unless someone in council wants to pull a motion together to keep it covered and get us rolling in the right direction.
I can state something if you want.
Please. Yep.
We can just, you see the motion in front of you, and further that the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood grants a request to receive an exemption from section 3.21 of the Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2009-08 as amended from the owners of, for the owners of 115 County Road 40, and further that the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood directs staff to enter into an agreement with the owners of 115 County Road 40 with an exhaustion date of December 1st, 2021.
Yeah, thanks for adding the dates to that.
The agreement will take into consideration all the other stuff.
Right. Is there anything else from council before I ask for a motion on that? Okay, looking for the motion then, please. Deputy Mayor Burt and Councillor Walsh, all in favor? And that's carried unanimous. Thank you. And thanks for staff and the Armstrongs for making this happen for everyone. So R2 then, Candace, this is going to be probably a touchy situation here for us, but lots of calls around the township, one thing after another, but this report is regarding the reopening of the community center.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So as council knows, as of today, we have entered into the yellow stage of the framework for Peterborough Public Health. And with that allows the provision for recreational facilities to open. Our community center has been closed since December 23rd. Since that time, the ice has been kept in. The ice plant has been kept down. Like there has been, we've kind of utilized and created efficiencies in the ice plant as much as possible. Staff have contacted all of the user groups of the community center, and all have expressed interest to return to the ice. The key user groups want to return to gameplay at the time of reopening, and really have expressed no intention to reduce their commitment. I have spoke to the president of Norwood Minor Hockey, who has relayed that they are looking at wanting to enter into game play, and they would like to enter into league play with Lakefield, Apsley, and Otonabee. Duro Dummer Minor Hockey, where it used to be Lando, has since removed themselves from league play and are only going to be participating in internal play. Lakefield was thinking they were going the same way, but has since rejoined the league group. There has been some consideration that they would like to just participate in skills and practices until the first week of March. That's what Norwood Minor Hockey has stated. So they are looking at then the Lano group. So they've got to prepare a schedule, and all the arenas have to open. Gameplay to start the first week of March is what Minor Hockey has provided to me in an email. Minor sports, as I stated, they've kind of committed. We've reached out to all the key user groups, the men's leagues, the seniors leagues. They've all expressed interest to return to the community center and to game play with whatever provisions the township puts in play. I can tell you from an operational standpoint, the biggest concern is to ensure that we can staff it, the community center. Obviously, hiring for a 4 to 6 or 8 week period, considering the local case count, don't know if we're going to make it through the 6 to 8 weeks, to be honest. If I was a gambling person, I don't know which way I'd bet, but I can tell you that staffing is probably my biggest concern. It is going to be a lot of work to get this facility up and running under these rules and conditions, but staff, the task force met, and you see the recommendations in front of you. Based on those recommendations, a staged approach was put together and drafted. You can see what the general requirements are. Obviously, at any point in time, the situation can turn on a dime. To be honest with you, I'm a bit surprised that we're having this conversation the day that we moved into the framework of yellow. But that's the world that we're living in. The pandemic changes very quickly. So you can see stage 1, what anything that township would like to restrict even further. Staff is open to that and will implement anything that council would like to see moving forward. As you are aware, the local case counts in the local schools in Havelock and Norwood has become a concern. I had a phone meeting with Peterborough Public Health in regards to that this morning. Huge close contact counts that are coming out of those positive cases. We're talking a lot of people. It was confirmed 2 scenarios. The family members of the positive cases are in full isolation. Parents, everyone who lives in that home are in full isolation. The high-risk contacts of those children, so say a boy was tested positive and there was a girl in the class with that boy in close contact, she now becomes a high-risk contact. So when she has been labeled a high-risk contact, Peterborough Public Health has asked that one caregiver be assigned to that child and isolate with that child, and the rest of the family is allowed to carry on life as normal as long as they remain symptom-free, as they were not in contact at all with the original positive case count. Not sure if we're going to see anything coming from the province or Peterborough Public Health in regards to recreational facilities due to the variants of concerns. Obviously, the vaccine scenario is at play, and it would not surprise me if we do see some recreational increase in restrictions coming down from the provincial level based on just these counts and the variants of concerns that are going through. There is concern that we need to protect the kids. So the case close count for Peterborough Public Health right now is over 200 people have been identified. As we know, Havelock players do play in Norwood minor hockey just because of Havelock doesn't have a minor hockey league up and running right now. So we have fair few number of players from that community that do play in Norwood minor hockey. So the 2 communities are closely linked. So we have cases in Norwood schools, there's cases in Havelock schools. They've been very well publicized. So that has caused concerns that has made all of our phones and ring and emails coming in over the past couple of days in regards to people being concerned with the township moving forward due to the case counts in the schools. But then on the flip side of that, we also have a community that is anxious to see the community center open. So there has to be a balance there that where a safe approach is being put forward. I can advise council that as of this meeting, as of right now, all centers were slated to open. It seems to be the conversation is that majority are going to open. Kevin Monaghan is the only one that was sitting on the fence during our last meeting. Duro Dummer is meeting today at 5 o'clock to make their final determination. It is a mixed bag across the board in regards to how they're opening. Everyone is opening in a stage 1 approach, which means increased restrictions because every facility is so different and some are new, some are old, some have got larger spaces that can accommodate. Some are opening their dressing rooms, some are leaving them closed. Some are allowing spectators, meaning one parent or guardian, some are not allowing any. It is definitely a mixed bag across the board. So it's going to be difficult to find a theme because it is facility specific and community specific. And I guess I will leave it at that and take any sort of questions specific to the stage approach that's being put forward, specific to any questions in regards to meetings with user groups. The only other thing maybe I could tell council is the biggest change is the safety plans. All users need to have a safety plan in place prior to taking the ice. That onus will be on the user groups to have that in the municipality's hands. It's legislated. And there's templates that they will be provided. Peterborough Public Health and the province have provided templates for them to use. So we need to make sure that those are in place. And that's basically the user groups are responsible for ensuring that when they enter a facility, how are they going to follow the rules? How are they going to actively screen every person that comes in the door? How are they going to ensure everyone's masked? How are they going to ensure everyone's monitored? Because as the renter of the facility, the onus is on them to ensure the people participating in their rental are compliant with all of the rules and regulations. Township staff are there to assist and ensure that people utilizing the facility are utilizing it in with a safe approach. But that being said, if we do see a user that is continuously not following the protocols and provisions, then it's very important for us to revoke that rental, because it's not worth the risk to all the user groups that are following the rules. So more of a no tolerance approach this time round. I'll leave it with council.
Yeah, thanks, Candace. That was pretty in-depth. I just wanted a comment or a question too before council started. Through the task force, I guess the thought or the question came up about hiring a third-party bylaw officer of some sort that would help in that situation to take a lot of the pressure off our staff because they live in the area, and it's hard to enforce rules when you're friends with the people too, and a lot of people are anti-maskers in the area too. I'm not saying everyone is, but there is some out there. And there was rumored that there was some league players too that or coaches that were anti-maskers. And I think this puts a risk and a problem with our staff. And I just wondered if we were able to somehow get that third party or not.
Mayor, great question. We did chat about that at the task force. I did send out some emails and make a couple of calls. No luck for availability for an outside third party company that's kind of in the enforcement industry to be able to come in and assist with that at the time of this meeting. Not saying I'm not going to hear back and maybe have a change, but as of right now, haven't been able to secure that to start with such a quick turnaround time. But we're working on it.
All right, I'll open the floor up to council. Councillor Ward, did I see your hand up there or not?
Yes, I'll go first, Mayor. Thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I do have some grave concerns regarding the safety of our community, because it's not just the safety of the players playing there, but if there's any contact and community spread, I think that we have to look at it as a community as a whole as well. I would say that some of the suggestions may even be tightened up if this is to go ahead. I was just wondering, like how many parent guardians, it would say 18, under the age of 18 in one section. So how many people would that be allowing into the arena? Like how many would be on a team? Do we know?
Yeah. So the maximum players we allow on the ice would be probably 24, right, which would then say if every child brought one, then that would multiply by 24. So you got to think there's 48, some coaching staff, my staff. So in the arena, you're looking at potentially around the 50 to 55 mark.
Okay.
In the facility at one time. Yeah. We wouldn't allow it to go any more than that. Because the league play is like less than 50, right? Which keeps the team smaller, but maximum is 24, I would say.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Archer, I seen your hand.
Yeah, but where we at, is not the number we were at prior to close was 12 per side, Candace, for players and one parent or one guardian per child?
Yeah, so we had 24, like Councillor Ward said, so there's 24 on the ice at one time, so that's 12 per side. Right. And so that's where the 24 comes from. And then if we allow one parent or guardian, before we did 13 and under, 13-year-olds and under is where we started for, and I think we were there for about a month. And so then it would be 24 players times 2, which would be 48 people. And then we increased it to under 18. And again, that's a mixed bag across the county. Some people aren't allowing any parents or guardians. Duro Dummer advised today they're doing U11, one parent or guardian for under 11 only. And then some are doing under 18 and some are doing none at all. So it's not one consistent approach across the county as much as we would have liked, but each facility is a little bit different. So it's up to each municipality to do what they feel is best for their own facilities. So
Yeah, tough choices. Councillor Walsh, please.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Candace, you mentioned that we have spoke to all the user groups and they're all sound very promising that they want to return. Were they aware, or again, this is continually evolving, but were they aware that there was a template that they were going to have to complete, providing us with a safety plan as to how they were going to help us monitor this situation, or is that kind of new news to them now?
No, I didn't tell them, I didn't go through all the details, but I did tell them that they were going to have to explain how they were going to play safely and give us rules, which they did before, but we just got it in an email form or a paper form. So now they're just gonna have to transfer everything they gave us before and put it in this template. So they're not gonna be necessarily gathering any information they didn't have that they didn't provide us before. They just have to provide it to us in a different format. So they're aware a different format is coming. I haven't provided all of every single user because every user has to prepare this template. Not every single user has received that template because after today, I want to compile a comprehensive communication. I didn't want to talk to every user group 10 times to state like, so I'm like, okay, after the decision is made today, whatever that decision may be, I can send them the staged approach, how it's opening, when it's opening, this is what we're required from you, this is the earliest you're able to participate, have your safety plan to me before that date. So more of a comprehensive communication instead of, I don't really have the time to communicate with them all 10 times. So that's kind of how the approach I've taken. And I don't see it being daunting. Okay. I don't think it's going to make anybody change their mind. The dressing rooms being closed might make them change their mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
And part 2, if I can, Roger.
Yes, please.
What happens, worst case scenario, that a user group, and my biggest fear is one of our big user groups, and I'm not picking on minor hockey, but let's face it, they're our biggest user group. We run into a lot of non-conformity, a lot of issues. What are our steps to basically, sadly, possibly have to revoke their privileges? And if that were to happen, being probably the biggest user group of our facility, how can we then, if we decided we're going to open it today, how do we then carry on if we potentially lose our biggest user group? Because we're really putting some onus on these organizations, not that they haven't stepped up before, but maybe step up to another level and really have to work hard in partnership with us to make sure that this community center is safe. And if that marriage doesn't happen, sadly, it leaves us no choice that you'd have to revoke their privileges because we've got to protect the whole community.
Correct. So to answer your question, I think it would all depend at what point in time during the next, what's left of the season that happened. Mm-hmm. So if it happened in the first week or two, I think that the tough decision would have to be made. It's not feasible to keep the ice in without that user group. Mm-hmm. If it happened in the last week and we had a week left or 2 weeks left, I think we could take a look at it. And is it worth all of those leagues, those other leagues putting everything together and getting their safety plans in and following all the rules? Are they allowed to have their last 2 or 3 skates? So I think it would all depend on the timing of when we revoked it as to how we would make that decision. It would be situational, but there's a chance it could easily get pulled out.
And that's fair. And again, I'm not trying to pick on minor hockey. Just they are our biggest user group, and if we had an issue with that group, it would mean a tough decision would have to be made.
Exactly. And to carry on that further is once they have made it clear that they want to participate in league play, which is league play with other centers, And so they are taking on the responsibility of those other centers coming in and following the rules. And that is why Duro Dummer Minor Hockey are doing internal gameplay only. They're not doing league play. They're just playing games amongst themselves within their own league, and they're not traveling to different communities right now.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Archer, follow up.
Candace, did we have any problems in December when it was open with people following the guidelines? Like,
Yes,
okay, I didn't know.
huge.
I was
Huge.
only there once with my grandson, because I had to take him. He was staying with us, and that night everything was, maybe just because I looked around a bit, I didn't see anything. That night it was good, but I mean, that's just one night of, you know.
Yes, our staff was exceptionally stressed. I can tell you Christmas was well timed. That was December 23rd, was a very, very stressful day as far as users from other areas coming in and participating in our facility and not following the rules. I didn't have any huge issues with our own users. It's more when you get into league play and then they're traveling from different, and every center has different rules. And although they're provided the rules in advance, I think it's more making sure that they're following them when they enter. Okay, we're in this center now. This is this center's rules. It was pretty tough in December, I'm not gonna lie. There was a lot of non-conformance across the board. So
The night I was there was Lakefield, and I gotta tell you, the kids came with their skates on. They just had to take their skate guards off. They were dressed 100. They were even more, they were farther advanced than they could have put their skates on there, but they didn't even do that. And they left their skates, or they left the arena with their skates on. People were taking them off of their cars. So they must have been doing that in Lakefield, obviously.
they were, yeah.
They were actually doing more than we were even, so, but they did bring it with them to Norwood, dress skates on before they entered the arena, and left the same way.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the positive news stories, but that wasn't the case across the board, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll try to keep the conversation neutral without actually naming places and pointing fingers. Yeah, that's okay.
I just said how good they were. I was only.
Yeah, I know. Deputy Mayor Burt, you had your hand up?
Yes, thank you, through you, Mayor. As the mayor said, the task force meeting, I think we spent probably about an hour and a half just going around the screen, just about the arena situation, and it's not an easy one, but as one member pointed out, we have followed the public health rules all the way along, and public health has stipulated that arenas can be open. That being said, I think we need to tighten it up a little bit more. Definitely stage one. Right now in stage one, it's one parent or guardian permitted per player under the age of 13. I don't have a problem with parents coming in if they need to help tighten skates up or something happening, but I really don't see the need for them to stay in there for these first 2 weeks. That's my opinion. So I think certainly that can be looked at. Minor hockey wants league play the 1st of March. I think, and depending on what's going on in the community and the schools, I think that needs a pretty hard look, and maybe, maybe that won't happen depending on what takes place. And as we know, things can change on a dime. So who knows what March 1st is going to look like. And our number one concern, we have to balance the safety of the community with the mental health of the community and the users of the community center. So it's not an easy thing to do. And just another comment, there has to be 100% compliance. There's no room for warnings. We've been in this for a year now. Everybody knows you mask, you social distance, you hand sanitize. And if I really think that the executive and the coaches and those involved with the teams, not just minor hockey, but any of the user groups, if they're not in 100% compliance, that's it. We've been in this long enough. I don't think we need to hold hands. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. But I do have one question, and then I'll pass it around the screen again. So in a hospital or long-term care, if there's 1 or 2 outbreaks, it's declared an outbreak. So if there are kids or coaching staff on a team, if there's 1 or 2, is it per team? Is it per league? Is there an outbreak declared? And what's the protocol? I wasn't sure about that, if it's in a sporting facility. Do you have the answer to that, Candace?
I do. I had Peterborough Public Health actually explain it to me today,
Okay.
because we were chatting about the cases in the local schools and why an outbreak hadn't been declared, because there was more than 1 case, and an outbreak would technically be declared if it was in another center, and it's because the cases weren't related.
Oh,
So if you had a team and you had 2 people become infected on 1 or 2 people on that team, and they infected each other, that's an outbreak. If you had 1 on 1 team, so say you had 1 on the U15 and then 1 on the U9, but they got them from 2 completely different places at different times, are not related to each other, then it's not an outbreak. It's actually just isolated cases.
okay. Thank you.
That's the difference.
Okay.
Okay, I'll jump in here for a second. Now, Deputy Mayor, you said, like we need to come back to this, whatever, and continued. I think today's the day that we help staff, because things are tough enough in the township as it is without trying to work around us. They don't want to second guess council either. And I do think the staff need our help on this particular case. So just starting off then, I seen some nodding of heads there, and I'm not asking for a motion. I just want to get the feel of the table here that we're talking is, so you mentioned 0 tolerance. So 0 tolerance means absolutely, like, you're not even warned anymore. They have the rules. Before they get off the bus, before they get out of their car, they need to go over the rules and have it straight. Anybody that screws up on that team, and I'm being blunt, they're done. Not just the one person, the whole darn team should be done. Coaches, everything. I don't care what the rebuttal is from anybody. They know the rules. It's been a year. But of course, I can't just make that on my own. I need support from around the council here. But 0 tolerance in my mind is 0 tolerance. So what's the feel of the council on that? Ed, go ahead. Speak about it if you want. Councillor Ward, please.
Yes, through you, Mayor. I think that's a really good point. I think that there has to be 0 tolerance at this point. Everyone knows what the rules and regulations are surrounding COVID and how to keep each other safe. And it's mask wearing and hand sanitizing and everything that is the protocols. So I'm with you on that it has to be 0 tolerance.
Now, just for instance, though, I did see even last night, like a coaching behind the Leafs, like he put his mask down to take a drink. I mean, you have to be reasonable about how 0 tolerance is. But I mean, if they're constantly having their mask down around their chin so they can yell at the kid, that's not the way it is. Then you're too passionate about it, or you need to change careers as far as I'm concerned. But that mask, you can still talk and get your word across without having to take it off and on. So Deputy Mayor Burt, I seen your hand and you're muted there.
Yeah, I'm 100% in support of the 0 tolerance. The hard thing is, and I get it, we have a lot of students who are working at the arena, and it's pretty tough for students to tell adults that the rules need to be followed. So that's where I really think it also needs, and Councillor Walsh mentioned this too, it is a coming together in a marriage as such between township staff and the user groups of the arena, and they've got to work together. And if they don't work together, it's done, period. And I don't think there needs to be warnings. Everybody knows what has to be done, and hopefully everyone can work together. I do have, optimism in our community, and I hope it can be done. But I think that's where we need to land on this.
Yeah, now just further to that about the zero tolerance. At one time, I guess it was, well, no, he said, she said scenario, that never happened. Well, I'm going to listen to what she had to say, not what he had to say. Because first of all, our staff are there to work and they want to work. They don't want to be laid off. They still want to keep their jobs and carry on. And it's not their fault that somebody's not following the rules. And I'm sure that she said would not be trying to be mad at somebody and get them in trouble and have their league kicked out and then have virtually the whole system shut down because he said, she said. But like I said, zero tolerance is zero tolerance, and to protect staff, because I can tell you Christmas time was not a fun time for these people at all. And I don't know if it's still out there, Candace, with public health though, is at one time, if we had a user group using something, they knew the rules on and on and on, but we were aware of what was going on. We could possibly get fined as a township too at one time. Is that still enforced now?
Yes, so there's always a possibility for the owner operator of the facility to be charged, but it would have to be more like blatantly what we were doing were causing the non-compliance, where if it's a user in our facility and we are trying to get them to gain compliance and they're refusing to comply and they're refusing to leave, we would not be penalized for that. But if we had a facility, say, that didn't have a posted safety plan, didn't, have the things that as an owner operator we were in charge of, we could be. But as far as we're not a renter of our own facility, the onus falls back on the renters to ensure they are complying. They sign the contracts, they sign the safety plans, they sign and take on the responsibility to ensure that everyone is following the rules. I can tell you, we do not live in a perfect world, and to think that there's going to be no warnings and no tolerance, it's great to say, it's great to put out there, it's great to believe, it's not practical.
No.
I don't know how we get our staff to be able to, you might as well not move forward, because there's no way that those staff are going to be, we're going to give it our best go. We'll give it our best go. We'll work with people. We will have communication open. But as far as we have the ability to revoke the rental, and that's ultimately what we would do. But are we going to have, I think we need a no tolerance is great, but I think there has to be a little bit of common sense applied to it. And I think if I come back and say, okay, we need to revoke a rental, I think I need more than because one guy last Thursday night didn't wear a mask.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what I can say is that if that person continues to not wear a mask, then that person isn't allowed back. Like, say it's the men's league. Let's get away from minor hockey. Say it's a men's league, and say they have 4 teams, and say they've got one particular member that doesn't comply. You go to them and you say, look, I'm going to pull your rental because this person A is not being responsible. They no longer participate in this rental, or I'm revoking it. The thing what has to be realized is that opening this facility is going to be a constant communication. 7 days a week until the end of this. It's going to be constant communication. We will try a no tolerance, no warning approach. That's council's direction. I wholeheartedly understand why. I just know
You can't.
the staff are going to implode.
Well, I wouldn't ask staff to, I would ask staff to hand them a letter that's already pre-drafted and say, as of tonight, you're no longer invited back. You are going to be gone. And it's
Now,
not impossible.
No.
if there is a pre-drafted letter that puts them on notice that,
That's one thing.
this is like, you're in non-compliance, you're in non-conforming because of A, B, C, and D, that's provided to them in writing. I think that's a fantastic idea. We can prepare a draft letter to have, then the operator can just circle what the issue was, whether it's non-masking, coach not wearing PPE, parents not practicing social distancing, whatever it is, date, time it, and sign it, copy it, hand a copy to the renter. They've been put on notice. if they come back and they do the same thing, they're done.
Much
Yeah.
prefer that approach.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
I just think I think we
Yeah.
will be more successful
Yeah.
with that, because then it allows them to correct the action. Because you got to think, you have a governing body, or you have coaches and you have people, and they're trying to ensure that everybody that they're responsible for are also playing by the rules. So I think they need to have the opportunity to talk to those people and maybe not allow them to participate, so that everyone isn't out the door, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, I understand. I just can't stress it enough, though. I mean, I heard an example this weekend of an asymptomatic person in his 20s hanging out because they have different friends, but they're doing the right thing, trying to social distance and everything. This lad turned out to be asymptomatic, but he passed it around to 13 of his friends in the long run. And I'm not saying anybody died from this, but that's just how serious it is. And he didn't even know he was sick.
I know.
So, I mean, that's how sad and serious this is. And the people that don't get it, just, I don't know. There's no answer to it.
Well,
Councillor Ward?
unfortunately, the only way to mitigate and to not take on any risk is to leave the doors closed. Take
Yeah.
the ice out.
Councillor
And
Ward?
Yeah, through you, just to follow up on that checklist, is there anything on there that can be said about to protect the staff, to say that this person was, not verbally harassing that person? Because that's a big one too. If the staff feels that threatened, they feel overwhelmed, then that has to be taken into account too. I was just wondering if there could be a check point on that they can say, this is my experience and how I felt during this interaction with this person, and that might be on there too.
done. Consider it done.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Councillor Walsh, please.
Just to build, and I love this letter idea, just to build on that is, because everybody will do their best part, but there will be some exceptions. But if it's a case of it's a coach or a player on a team, they will get this. We'll have a copy, or the arena will have a copy. Would a copy also go to that league? So I'll take, for example, I hate going back to minor. I'll go to the Monday Night Men's League. Player A comes in, no mask on. He's provided a letter, said you're non-conforming. He gets a copy. The arena has a copy. Can a copy go to that league? So maybe that league convener can try and, this is as much responsibility of theirs as it is ours to
A
get
copy will go to the person who signed the contract, because that's who we entered into a legal agreement with. So the person who signs the contract will also be provided a copy of the letter with the player, and then the township will have one on file. So in that situation, it's the person who signs a contract. So I guess kind of like the lead of
the
each
convener or whatever.
individual group. And then into the more governing bodies, so like Norwood Minor Hockey, it would get sent to the executive.
Okay, no, that's good. Just because I think that just allows them, if they weren't aware that a person got a letter, that they can kind of help support,
Well, I think that's important, and you've raised a good point, because that way too, I think sometimes the governing bodies they're not in the facility during every game play. There's no possible way to know everything that's going on during every practice, every game, whether it's happening in Apsley, Otonabee, Norwood, or anywhere. So this way, they will be made aware of a pattern of issues that are happening at least in the Norwood facility. How they're conducting themselves in the other facilities, if we make it to game play, league play, then that'll be up to them, to enforce their own rules. But at least in Norwood, then the executive can look and say, oh my goodness, we had 7 players get these letters last week. Maybe be like, okay, we need to change our communication, or maybe we need to talk to this specific team, pull them in and say, okay, guys, like something's happening here. It can help them pinpoint where the problem is.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I like that. That's why I like the user group knowing, besides just the person that.
Yeah, agreed.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, this is great conversation, Council, and thanks. And I'm sorry I got so heated on that, but like it just takes me back the year when that one person at an arena, by the time they did their source tracing, when they figured it out, one person infected something like 156 people within like a few hours by the time it mutated around the township or whatever. And we're not just talking the community center here either. I mean, we have takeout. We have washrooms around the area that people use one thing after another. And if it passes in the air or it's by touch or however it's done, we're talking our communities at risk too then. If they're coming, and I'm not saying our townspeople are at fault on any of this. I'm worried more about the people that are coming into our town, because we're going to have user groups from all over the place. And the more that it is, and let's hope it is going to be safe and easy to use, and everybody complies by what we need. But Deputy Mayor Burt, I seen your hand.
Yeah, it's been a while, but so I do like that letter, and I think that's a great approach. So that was a great suggestion by whoever made that, and then all the tweaks. So that is good. So I guess I'm just getting back to the plan and the stage one. I did mention about the guardian permitted per player under the age of 13. I just wanted that to go around the table. I had suggested that if required, a parent could come in and help tie skates up, but I think for these next 2 weeks, I really don't think they need to be in there, and to be looked at perhaps the first week of March, and then kind of the re-looking at through minor sports about interleague play to see what happens there. So I just wondered what other council members feel about those two things.
Candace, you had your hand up there or no? Are you waiting?
Yeah, well, then we'll let the go around, but I had raised my hand before Deputy Mayor had talked. So I'll say what I'm going to say, and then maybe you can go around the table for her. But the biggest thing that I also want council to remember is, based on my conversation with Peterborough Public Health today, is how these close contacts work. Another municipality has had their council and their staff members affected as well. So if it comes in, so if the cases in the schools that we have right now in Havelock and in Norwood, we know that they have affected minor hockey families. We know this. So if that progresses and comes into the hockey leagues and our staff become close contacts, there's no backup staff. That will also shut down the arena. I just want, yeah. Like, there's not like, if all of a sudden there's half the staff has been labeled as high risk contacts, there's over 200 high risk contacts from those cases alone. So it's a very dicey, it's a little card game, Jenga game that we're building here. And you start pulling any sort of pieces out from underneath it, it's going to crumble. It's precarious. I mean, we'll give it our best shot, but I can tell you what some of our other arenas are doing. OSM, Autonomy South Monaghan, no spectators during stage one, no parents, no guardians. You bring your child fully dressed. They go in through the door dressed. They go out, they play, they come out the other door dressed. Selwyn is the same. No dressing rooms, no spectators. Duro Dummer is doing stage one as well. North Kawartha, which is the other one that's doing league play with us, is one parent under 18. So that's the municipalities that are doing league play with us, if we go to league play and allow it.
Councillor Archer?
If we're going to go, if we had no spectators, and just like you said, North Kawartha, they allow one parent, then is that going to create a problem if North Kawartha come here to play, because their parents would think they'd be able to get in if we are letting our parents in? Like,
it would be the same, because so they would be playing, if we went no spectators, then they're the only ones that are allowing spectators out of the whole group. So they would run into that same problem wherever they went.
Everywhere else, yeah. Okay, you're right. Yeah, no, I was just thinking.
Everywhere else. So we just have to communicate with them, and then our staff wouldn't let them in.
Right.
So, I mean, it would be
it's not up our staff to get, then it would get blizzard outside the door, that, and people they don't seem to take no very good for an answer these days. So.
I know.
And the longer it goes on, the worse it's getting. So, But if we don't open it,
But I mean, ultimately, it's less, they have that conversation at the door, but it's less conversations in. I can tell you from when we were open before, the players aren't really the concern. It's unfortunate and sad. The kids follow the rules. They follow them at school. They come to the facility. They follow it. It's the parents, it's the coaches, it's the adults that are there. And if you were to 98% of the time, it's an adult in the building that are constantly being reminded, you know, you have to stay in your assigned seat. You're not allowed to talk in a huddled group in the lobby. You're not allowed to socialize when you're here. You're here to watch your child. You're not here to socialize. And keeping them one tough conversation to keep them in the parking lot, I think would be easier than the 10 they have to have that night with them inside the building.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go. I mean, as far as what Deputy Mayor Burt said, but I do think, listening to what you just said, Candace, if a lot of the other arenas aren't having any spectators at all, I mean, at least for the first few weeks, because I mean, all the COVID cases that are 15 minutes down the road and the school bus encounter that we had here in town here, one thing after another, it's getting close to home. And we, like, let's face it, we're a seniors area, and we have a lot of vulnerable people here that haven't had an injection yet. I mean, we're waiting on it, but I mean, I don't want to lose anybody in our township over the fact of having somebody skate. I mean, you can clean the pond off basically if you had to have a skate. But anyway, open to the floor there, council. Any other questions or concerns on that? Councillor Ward, please.
Through you, Mayor. I like the proposal that Deputy Mayor Burt suggested. I think the fewer people in the arena right now ensures the safety of all. And it's the same with the change rooms. I think that people should come in dressed and ready to go. And that will limit the contact for everyone at this point. And we can revisit it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
Basically, that's where we started originally, right? In the fall, that's where we started.
Yeah.
Everyone came in dressed and we slowly were able to ramp it up. I think that's where we start again. You know, start right back at the beginning, see what happens.
Okay, well, I think we're kicking it around the table. Councillor Walsh, did you have something you want to close with by chance?
Yeah, just to basically build on Deputy Mayor Laurie's point. I've struggled with this, but I do get it. I'm comfortable with the no parents right now for a couple of weeks. Let's see how the first couple of weeks go. As I said, this is how we started in the beginning. We do have some issues right now locally, so we don't want to, you know, make that worse. Let's see how that goes. When we reach the point where our biggest user group, which is minor hockey, that would bring parents into the arena or community center, start league play, then we look at it at that point. If that means we need to get together again to do that, that's the right decision that we need to make probably at that time, because we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what it's going to be like a week from now. We could be closing the arena in a week.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Candace, you had something you want to add to that?
Yes, I'm just wondering if we need to communicate back to league play, because I think it's important if we're going to be hinging decisions on our facility being rented to outside centers, we need to be in control of when that's triggered.
Yeah.
Because traditionally we wouldn't even kind of know, like we would know when the schedule is and kind of see it on the schedule, but we're not really a part of that decision-making scheduling process. And if we're going to all of a sudden start seeing outside centers coming in, I think we need to know, we need to maybe have a conversation. Our staff needs, like, we need to just be prepared that all of a sudden Lakefield, Otonabee, and Apsley are all going to be landing here sometimes the same night or within 2 nights. Like, it just really changes the dynamic and whether we're comfortable with league play at that time, depending on what's happening in the schools. I mean, we have a different dynamic happening in Havelock-Norwood right now that isn't happening. And I think we need to do some due diligence there to just kind of wait till that's done. It's going to be 7 to 10 days and we'll know if it's going to get worse or it's going to be kind of solved, which takes us into probably, what is that, the 24th, 25th of February anyway. So there is time, but I think we need to, that league play, and whether we want to be renting. Peterborough Public Health does not want us renting to anybody outside of the health unit. So anybody, no rentals outside of the health unit for Peterborough Public Health. That communication, they didn't want it before. That communication is coming down the pipe. So you're not renting to Marmora or Campbellford even, or anybody, because they're all outside of, and they're in a higher elevated because HKPR is in orange. So they definitely don't want rentals that way. And then they said, it's up to you as a municipality. So that we've kind of shut down the health unit. So do you want to shut down your community as far as not the travel gameplay? And when do you want that to happen? That's a community decision. So that just is something to throw out there for council to think about.
Follow up, Councillor Walsh?
One more question, sorry. Dennis,
So you can have as many questions as you want.
it brought me to another point. So I'm thinking Thursday night old timers. How have they operated so far this year? Have they played other centers, a small group of other centers?
Not that I'm aware of. As all of our old timers or men's leagues have all played internal play only.
Okay, because I'm just thinking that group on Thursday night, if they decide to play a team from Campbellford, they're outside of our health unit.
Yeah, and no, they're not allowed. So that's in the contract. That was in the contract last time too.
Okay.
So they're not allowed to travel out of our jurisdiction to play a game.
Okay. So
And the Monday night league, the 4 teams all just played each other.
right. Okay. No, that just, thank you.
Nope, you're welcome. So it's keeping it kind of fair across the board.
So to help staff out then, so we have some direction that we're heading here so far, which is great conversation. But to help staff with bringing this back again on the 23rd, our next council meeting for more after. No, we're allowing certain things to happen now, but on the 23rd for the team play or whatever, no.
No,
Nothing like
because
that?
I mean, we haven't even discussed the date that we're going to be open for rentals. And by the time we get it all said and done and all the safety plans in, by that time, we may have only been open a few days. Like, I don't think we'd have enough to really make a decision. Our next council meeting is March 9th after the 23rd. I don't know if we're going to make it that far based on the league play conversation, but I wouldn't mind knowing council's thoughts on that, because that's one of the biggest pieces to this pie is the league play.
Deputy Mayor Burt?
Yeah, well, I think that was one of my first comments was really, I think we just have to wait and take a look at that, depending on what happens in our local schools and school bus routes and all of that. And yeah, that was top of my list is depending on what happens probably in the next 10 days, that may be out the window. It's hard to say. And yeah, crystal ball would be nice right about now, but we don't have one. We haven't had one for a year. Yeah, and I don't know, like from a Norwood minor hockey point of view, like how much time they need. Is it, Candace, do you know, is it March 1st that they're hoping to have? You don't really know. So
the exact date, no, can pull up the email I received so that you know the exact wording that I was given.
Okay, because I'm just wondering, there maybe needs to be a bit more communication and a little bit more nailing down of dates. And but it's all going to depend on the community spread and what happens in the schools. And we can't make a decision of that. You know what? The easy way out is to not open the arena, and the next easy way out is just say no league play, just play within Norwood. But we got to find that balance. So
the hope is the wording in the email is the hope is to schedule league play starting somewhere around March 1st.
Okay.
That's the exact wording I got. So there's no exact pinpoint date, but like for me, like it's great to say we got to kind of wait, but I'm putting out a stage document to these people. So do we say no league play in stage 1? Because when we come back together, we're going to be taking a look at all of it again, the spectators, the change rooms, the league play. So do we tie it to that? Because probably if we're willing to go league play and all other centers are coming into our facility, I would think that there's going to have to be something to have changed in our situation. If we're not, we should be having the spectator conversation at that point. We should be having the dressing room, change room conversations at that point all again. So I think they kind of all hinge together, and
Yeah.
they all kind of go together. So like if we put no league play in stage 1 and then emphasize we're going to take another look at it, it just means that we're not going to, I guess, allow like games, because see, we have the Peterborough teams that rent ice, but they're all skills. They don't come here and play games. They're all practices and skills here. There's no game play. So really the only league, the men they're not. The only one that plays outside the center is Norwood Minor Hockey. They're the only ones that are willing to play outside of Norwood. Everybody else is staying in Norwood or just doing skills and practices only.
Councillor Walsh, and then Councillor War, please.
Sorry to keep asking, but just to build on Lori's point is, with what's evolving right now in the community between the two schools, we may find other centers don't want to come here and play us right now either.
I had that conversation with Peterborough Public Health
Right.
today too.
Like, out
Maybe
of
they won't
fairness,
want to come here. Yeah.
those other centers,
Yeah.
knowing what's happening, and it's all, for the most part good, but they may decide, I don't want to go there and play with what's going on. So I'm comfortable. It puts minor hockey in a tough spot if we say, okay, stage 1, no league play. And then we need to meet and decide when we start stage 2, that they're going to need probably another week to ramp up to even start league play, but maybe that's not a bad thing after all. Because it all takes time for them to get together with these other centers, coordinate when all that's going to happen, schedule stuff. But again, maybe that's not a bad thing that we stay in-house for a while.
Yeah.
Councillor War.
Actually, Councillor Walsh just actually asked my question about if other centers would like to play in our area. So he actually answered that already. But if we have the safety protocols already in effect, that we only limit, that there is no spectators, even if there is league play, and we limit how many, could that be just part of step 2 already?
Yeah.
Just
Anything's
asking a question.
possible. Yeah. Yep. Anything's possible. I mean, and it's hard because the other thing is that how long the ice stays in. So I know North Kawartha is looking at maybe not extending it, but other centers are looking at extending it. So this league play is not going to be, I don't think, everything. They're not going to, the season is kind of done. I think there's no tournaments, there's no championships, there's no nothing. I think just trying to claw back something where all I want is for our communities to be safe so that there's a next season, a full season next year, not trying to, claw back something that's going to go against the greater good and contribute to a third phase or the third outbreak of this come April, So whatever we can do to open safely and ensure, otherwise there won't be, if we get another round in April and send us into another lockdown and everything, you're not going to see an August or September league. So I guess you could just have to pick what's important. Like, it's hard. It's not easy. But I mean, I think that opening very restrictive because of the community spread we have going on right now. We know that it's within the hockey community. We know this for a fact. That does cause some concern. That's going to cause us to make some different decisions than we wouldn't normally make. So I think that's kind of where that should be dictated. That's what dictates the province's decisions. That's what dictates Peterborough Public Health decisions is the cases in your community and how your community is being affected by the virus,
Deputy Mayor Burt.
Can I just ask a question? If we go to stage 1 with the extra restrictions, when would the doors open for ice? When would that happen? How long does that take?
I was hoping to have them open for Friday of this week, but that's obviously not going to be for everybody because safety plans have to be received. Staff has to be trained. there's a lot to happen between tomorrow and Thursday to be open for Friday, scheduling, staffing. I'm hoping for Friday. No 100% guarantees, because I can't let people take the ice if they don't have the safety plans. It's legislated. I can't. Assuming that when the ice plant was ramped up yesterday, or ramped down, whatever you want to say, to make it cold enough to get the ice back. So that started. So it's just making sure that everything, but it's a little easier. Like if everything's shut down and people are just coming through the front doors, the players are going to the ice, they're playing their games, and then they're walking out dressed, like in and out. Like we can start that way. It does actually allow us to kind of ease into this rather than trying to struggle and manage all of the moving parts of the facility at one time. But I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be an undertaking and a half, that's for sure, to have it up and running for Friday.
Yeah, thanks, Candace. And no matter what, council, this is tough decisions that's affecting us throughout our community. We're either going to be heroes or we're going to be losers, one or the other. It's like there really is no in between.
You're going to be both. You're going to lose some and you're going to win some. There's going to be people who think we're crazy for opening the doors, because I've heard it. Yeah. And they're 100%. I've had my ear chewed off for that. And we're going to have people who feel that the community center has to open regardless. So it's unfortunately a no-win.
Let's go with some final round of comments, and then we'll carry on here. So Councillor Walsh, I see in your hand, please.
Yeah, so from my perspective, I am supportive of us opening the arena in a very cautious staged approach. And my recommendation is in stage 1, that there would be a couple amendments. One amendment would be that there's no parents in the arena at all. You basically bring your child to the door, drop them off because they're doing skills anyways. And that the addition to stage 1 is that there would be no league play during that stage. And when we get to stage 2, it'll be a challenge with them in scheduling, but it's the safe way to do it. And if it means there's an extra week of them doing skills with our own kids in our own arena and not traveling, that may not be a bad thing.
And Councillor Walsh, can I ask about the zero tolerance, how that would be critiqued?
Yeah, and I'm in support of the conforming letter that we had discussed, that if somebody is non-conforming, that person, that user group and the arena would receive copies of it. First time would be a warning. Second time for that particular individual, they would be gone.
Okay, that's a good start. Anyone else want any comments to what Councillor Walsh had to say before we ask? Oh, you want that to be a motion? And is that your motion then, Councillor Walsh?
It can be if
okay. And Councillor Archer seconded it. So then if anybody wants to comment, then it'll be towards the motion, then, which we're talking anyway. So Councillor Ward, you had your hand up.
I just wanted to do maybe in addition to that the change rooms at this time are off limits as well.
They actually are.
Okay. Just thanks.
Yep. Yeah, it's the last line in stage 1.
Then I'm in complete agreement.
Deputy Mayor Burt, you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you through you, Mayor. Yeah, I think that's good. And obviously all this hinges on what's happening in our community. And I think not only what's happening in the school community, but also what happens within our staff, because if staff are affected and we don't have enough staff to keep it running, it's obvious what we have to do. So not that we have to add that into the motion, but I think that's kind of a given. It is a given. So
reality.
It is, yeah, it really is. We don't have a lot of extra. We don't have any extra staff hanging around right now. So I think that goes without comment. Yeah, and the compliance letter, I'm good with that. No, I think we're good. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I was going to ask for staff perspective on that too, please.
So there may actually be a stage 1.5. I'm just saying that it may not jump. Looking at what we've added here and what stage 2 is, it may not go. So we may, when we add league play, doesn't mean that everything else in stage 2 comes into play at the same time as league play, is what I'm saying. So I'm just saying there may be a stage 1.5, just throwing that out there for council to be aware of. The other thing is the extension to the ice end. That was in the original motion in the staff report. So I just wanted to make sure that, because when Councillor Walsh and Councillor Archer have the motion on the floor seconded, did that include that part of the motion where it says, and further that the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood supports an extension of the ice season until April 15th, 2021, if feasible, depending on conditions of the pandemic or something, like we can throw that on there. It's just so we don't have to come back again to have that conversation if things are going well and the pandemic's going well, and we can extend the season for a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with
That was okay in the motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a verbal from both, so that's part of the motion then.
And one other quick thing, the date of opening, is council going to hold me to the Friday? Or,
I would just throw out that it can, if it's easier to open the first and even a week from today, I don't think there needs to be a rush. I really don't. I don't know what the rest of council thinks, but today's Tuesday. You have Wednesday, Thursday to open Friday. That's not much time, in my opinion. So
so can we
I
just
think it
kind of
goes into
leave
next
it
week.
to when we kind of get the safety plans in from all the users and they're ready to go? Because some users will get on the ice faster than others.
Yep.
That I can tell you. Like some are going to take a little bit longer to get through the safety protocols, and others will get through it very quickly and can get on the ice very quickly.
Yeah.
So
we have one chance to do it right, Candace. So if it means we have to take a couple extra days to make sure it is right for us and them, then I think that's fair.
okay. Okay, thank you for that liberty then.
Okay, so just some clarification then, I guess, just so it's clear for anybody that may be listening on YouTube. It'll be all printed anyways, I guess, Candace, when it comes out as minutes. As
Yeah,
to
but
how
it
that
doesn't come
motion
up
went.
for minutes for a while, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can just reiterate. So the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood adopts the stage plan for the community center reopening with the following amendments. No spectators / parents / guardians, no league play, and I'm just going to say compliance warning letter approach. We know what that is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And further that the Council of the Township of Asphodel Norwood directs staff to reopen with that stage 1 approach, and further that the Council of the Township of Asphodel Norwood supports an extension of the ice season until April 15th, 2021, if feasible, depending on the conditions of the pandemic.
Right.
Fair enough.
Perfect.
Okay, just before I call for the vote, then I just wanted to reiterate the fact that we're all in this together. That's a saying that's probably going to come out of the dictionary later in life. They're not going to use it anymore after the pandemic's gone. But when your phones start ringing off the hook, we've made this as a decision as a whole, and I think we've taken it a long way. So we've made some good choices. We've had some good direction from our staff, and I think the motion is very suitable for today as to how we are in our community. So well done. Yeah. Anyway, so we have the motion on the floor. Second it. All in favor then, please. And that's carried unanimous with a show of hands if anybody's watching the recording. So, and Melanie, I'm sure you've taken detailed notes there listening to us. Anyway, that's great, Council. Thank you very much. And thank you, staff. A lot of hard work, and there's still going to be some more hard work coming here in the next few days for sure. So wish you all the best on that. Okay, so there's nothing else on our agenda other than having the confirming bylaw basically, or Red, please.
Yes, the confirming bylaw, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the special meeting of the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood held on February 16th, 2021, be read a first, second, and third time and numbered bylaw 2021-12.
Thank you. Motion by Councillor Ward, Councillor Archer, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. So, and then adjournment then would be the recommendation that the special meeting held on February the 16th, 2021 be adjourned at 4:19 p.m. with council to meet for a regular meeting on February 23rd, 2021, or at the call of the chair.
And just note, there
Yes.
is another council meeting next Tuesday, because I want to see you guys 3 weeks in a row. This one didn't replace that one. Okay. So I wanted
Yeah,
to
on the-
confirm
That's on the 23rd, right?
That's next
Yeah.
Tuesday.
that. Next Tuesday, third week in
Yeah.
a row.
Yeah.
We like
that's
doing
right.
agendas.
Yeah, thanks. That's great. Good work, staff.
Yeah.
Okay, I need a motion on that one, please. Now that it's 4:20, Deputy Mayor Burt, Councillor Archer, all in favor? And that's carried unanimous. Thank you, and thank you very much. And everyone be safe out there. COVID is in our area. You have to be vigilant.